I can't, once we reach the point where they're literally not participating in a conversation, I like that. I'm like, here's a video immediately as the attack happened, and he's like, are you talking about the white helmets? Because he has like a bunch of talking points prepared about them, you know? He was not engaging in that conversation whatsoever. And by the way, hey, if you guys, anyone who agrees with him or watching this video, and you honestly believe he came off looking good there, you really are ideologically indistinguishable from neo-Nazis, because I have heard more convincing arguments for Holocaust camp deniers, okay? Wow! Like, every point, he's like, well, here's, I don't have an alternate explanation for why this incredible series of events took place, you know? Wow, you know, I can't explain the helicopters, I can't explain this, I can't explain that, I can't explain any of this, and he kept jumping to excuses to ignore every single point of the conversation, you know? He was like, oh yeah, well, you got your preparation points from the Young Turks guy. Oh, this is the white helmet's talking point. Oh, you got this from Bellingcat and CIA. Can you go through your evidence, Vaush? I want to hear it so I know what to say to deniers. Do you guys want do you guys want all the evidence? Do you want me to like dump it on you? So that guy was a Weasley little fucking snake, so he wouldn't commit to any of his actual beliefs, but he believes, and a lot of other people like him believe, that it was a false flag attack that the United States and Syrian rebels orchestrated to justify the 2018 missile strikes, which by the way caused no Syrian deaths and then ended up killed nobody. And only destroyed facilities which the U.S. military claimed were chemical weapon facilities, and then chemical weapon attacks stopped afterwards. So that sure was some crazy WMD false flag that they did. They did a false flag to show the Syrian government did something that they already do all the time anyway, in order to cause 3 deathless strikes on on facilities. You're still streaming video to Jackson? No, I'm not. Whatever he's doing on his end, there's no longer anything coming from my end to his end. Anyway, oh, dude, that's funny. You know who just DM'd me saying that I just ran away? Flamenco, a literal neo-Nazi. That's crazy, dude. Well, all bedfellows, you know? That's it's just some wild, very on the left people, you know? Anyway, glad he still watches me. Anyway, okay, so first of all, the claims that this was a false flag orchestrated by the United States are ridiculous, because the United States really didn't have anything to gain from it. They didn't make any significant strategic advances in the region. And additionally, the consequences of the chemical weapon attack ended up leading the Syrian rebels to flee from Douma, giving the Assad military forces a hold up in the Syrian civil war. So the United States orchestrated a false flag to achieve essentially nothing, and then also gave a strategic advantage to Assad, and it happened 3 years ago. Later, Assad even bragged that he got off easily after the chemical weapons attack. There's so much stuff that we didn't even have the opportunity to go over. Oh my God. First of all, when the OPCW initially tried to do an investigation of what took place in Douma, the Russian and Syrian military forces blocked them, citing security concerns, except they were never able to provide any evidence of them. Then, when the OPCW was finally able to arrive about a week later, the Russian and Syrian forces suddenly, were not present, and then there was small weapons fire that attacked the OPCW investigators. Security concerns, which forced them away. Somehow, this was done in spite of the fact that Russian and Syrian forces controlled the city. The rebel forces had already fled. So what security concerns? And also, if it was a U.S. false flag, why the fuck would they be wanting to keep the OPCW from investigating the claims that they believed could support their arguments later? The Russian and Syrian governments prevented the OPCW from investigating the site for 2.5 weeks. Actually 2 weeks. A little over 2 weeks, I think. Thereabouts, something like that. A long time, okay? So after all of this obfuscation, keep in mind the OPCW was delayed, but other organizations weren't, okay? Other organizations like the New York Times and international humanitarian and anti-war organizations, they were present immediately after the attack, and they were got witness testimonies and found overwhelmingly people arguing that there was a chemical weapons attack, overwhelmingly arguing that that they saw helicopters. Like, all of the testimonials that they gave really ended up aligning with the narrative that I produce. Guys, if you're wondering why the Tankies or Assadists are freaking out, it's because they're alt-righters, okay? They act identically to alt-righters. Have you ever seen them on Twitter? They're completely identical. They're not different in any way. They get along with alt-righters. There's a reason why Partisan Girl is literally friends with Nick Fuentes, okay? They're alt-righters. They're authoritarians. They just like it. They like conspiracy, and they like it when people are murdered for, as part of the domination of an ethnic minority. They just enjoy it, okay? Additionally, here's a nice little piece of evidence. So here's one of those cylinders that the coward we just talked to said that he didn't have any alternate explanation for the presence of. What we're looking at right here is just 2 months of erosion. Look at this. This is a steel canister. Over here, this is a picture taken right after the bomb was dropped. Over here, 2 months later, it looks like it was fished out of the ocean after 100 years at the bottom of the depths. What causes that? Well, chlorine gas causes that. Additionally, one of the counter-arguments made by people like the dumb fuck that we just had on is that the reason why these trace amounts of chlorine and the chemical byproducts of chlorine were present in the area is because they were produced by bleach cleaning solutions. On the walls, roofs, rubble, infrastructure, piping, scaffolding, very dedicated housekeeping there. Also, there were types of corrosion, that could not take place as a product of bleach. Guys, bleach don't do this. Sorry. Bleach don't do this. It don't. Sorry. The roof being blown out, which the guy we were talking to kept seeming to think was some kind of own, means nothing. Chlorine gas doesn't go up. It goes down. It doesn't go up. It goes down. It hit the roof, and the corpses were on the lower level. Additionally, there are videos on the scene of people freaking out, dying. You can see, like losing their shit because there's a chlorine gas canister right there. Additionally, here's another nice piece of evidence. Now, the Tankies are going to get super triggered because this is from Bellingcat, but I'm only showing it on Bellingcat because the alternative would be to show it in a very, very graphic video that I can't show on Twitch because it shows a lot of bad stuff. So I want to show you 2 photos right here. I'm just taking the photo from Bellingcat, but again, this is verifiable through other sources, Here are 2 pictures right here. Are you looking at it? These are 2 pictures of the chlorine gas canister. This is the one that didn't break all the way through the roof. This is the one that got lodged partially into the building. The one on the left is a frame from a video taken while people was dying. The one on the right was taken by investigators much later. Note the rust, my apologies. Now, what do you notice about the one on the left? Is there anything odd about the coloration that you see? Oh, wait. It's white. Now tell me, did you see any white in the images that we were looking at previously? It's a yellow canister. Why is it white here? Well, in this video that was taken, this bomb had only just been dropped. Do you know why it's white? This is frost. This is a process called auto-refrigeration. When highly pressurized gases quickly release from a contained area, the container and the surrounding environment cools down. It's an endothermic reaction. Have you ever had one of those little spray cans, the ones that spray air on your keyboard to clean it up? Notice how they get really, really cold super, super quick? That's called auto-refrigeration. I won't claim to understand the entireties of the chemical reaction there, but it has to do with the pressure inside and stuff like that. So here's a question. Since this frame on the left was taken from a quick frame of a video that was taken right as the bomb hit while people freaking out, if this was a false flag and this was planted, did they spray frost on this canister just so that it could be shown for a couple frames in a video of people dying? This is only visible for like a fraction of a second. Were the false flaggers so fastidious and dedicated that they somehow adhered frost or some other kind of white congealant to the underside right here, specifically so that it can be seen in a shaky phone video for a quarter of a second, and then later somehow remove it? How would they do that exactly? Did they like knock a hole in this building, prop it up there, and then like spray cold on it, and then like what? The evidence here is very consistent with the rapid depressurization of the interior of this canister. Anything else would require an unbelievably contrived number of circumstances to explain. That's the reason why the guy I was talking to was a coward and didn't actually commit to any alternate explanation. If you're arguing with a conspiracy theorist, you need to. You need to ask them, what is the other explanation? Because here's the thing, guys. History is rough, and we don't have perfect information on anything happening anywhere, let alone in fucking Syria. Like, we never have perfect info. There will always be gaps in the narrative, in any narrative. This is the case for the Holocaust, too, in spite of it being literally the most well understood and recorded historical event, arguably in all of human history. We can't know everything. It's a God of the gaps argument. That's why we have historians, analysts, and experts. We can't ever know everything, but we can fill in pieces and come to a really, really good understanding of what took place. So, if you're going to challenge a standard narrative, this narrative, the one that the U.S., sorry, not the U.S. government, that Assad dropped the chemical weapons here, is a very, very well corroborated, well agreed upon, and well understood one. And the only reason it's contested is because Syria and Russia both like freaked out and lied and said that it didn't happen, and they had a bunch of like conflicting information, and pawns of the Russian government, like the Gray Zone and their dipshits, all repeat their lies for them. Anyway, continuing. It's very important to ask about an alternate explanation they have for the conspiracy that they're alleging, because otherwise you could let anyone tear holes into anything, you know? Like, anyone could tear holes into anything. Well, this one historian said that in 1443, a train manifest in Nazi Germany was inconsistent with the broader narrative that there was a payload of food and supplies that was delivered from Munich over to here, and anyway, yeah, like, this one guy's pretty credible, and he says that didn't happen, And then you're like, okay, so what are you saying? And they're like, did I say 1443? The 1943. Whatever, 1443, who cares? Anyway, 1943. And then you're like, okay, does that matter? And they're like, well, I don't know. It's kind of crazy, isn't it? Anyway, like, if you disagree with me, then you're like a Jewish shill. Wait, hold on. So wait. Are you alleging that there are inconsistencies in the narrative, or are you alleging that anyone who disagrees with you is like a member of the U.S. State Department? That's the thing that I have with these guys. If they literally just had like a couple questions about the specifics of this event, that I wouldn't have a huge issue with it, but they don't. He was like meek and simpering with me. This is the I'm just asking question things that Holocaust deniers do. But on their own, they make very strong claims. Ever notice this with Holocaust deniers? In their forums, they're like, yeah, bro, Holocaust never happened. Jews faked all of it. Wish it did happen, though. Yup. But when they're talking with other people, they're like, no, 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 no. I don't believe any of that. I just have some questions on these reports. Look at this photo of a door. Does this really look like a door to hold people in gas chambers? And it's just like a photo of a random door. This is what I mean. Like, it's the constant back and forth between very severe and very definitive claims and these weak ones. It's Amat and Bailey, essentially. I would be really, really suspicious of people who buy into this Assadist nonsense, in large part because, A, I really do think they're like intellectually on the level of Holocaust deniers. Keep in mind, there are people who are going to say that I rage quit that debate. I only did so when he made it incredibly clear he wasn't even talking with me anymore. You noticed that, right? He wasn't even talking to me anymore. What's the point of having a conversation past that point? Like, there's no, like, what? This is one of the tactics that alt-righters like to use as well. When they realize they're losing a debate, they act so insufferably that you no longer see any point in continuing to talk with them, and then they act like you walking away is some kind of loss. The fact that I like mentioned a video that took place at the site, and then he was like, you claimed there was a video of the bomb being dropped on the building, when I literally never said that. Did I ever say that? I'm really confident that I never said that. I do not think I ever said that. But he was like so insistent that I said that. And then he kept trying to go to the white helmets thing because he had his prepared talking points on that, Another like indication of that guy's dishonesty is like the fact that he kept saying engineering experts or ballistics experts said this or that, but he kept referring to the same guy. He was talking about the same guy every time. One guy, you know what I mean? Like, he was so clearly trying to inflate the number of people who agreed with his perspective by not actually mentioning the name specifically, And he didn't know what peer review meant. Yeah. Maybe you should have a language check for debate prerequisites in the future. No. I knew it was going to be like that. Why do you guys think I stayed up so late, like, looking up arguments last night? Conspiracy theorists are incredibly exhausting to talk to. Like, it's always going to be like that. They're basically just neo-Nazis. In terms of the way they deal with the world and the way they regard, like, empiricism and factual information, that's basically what they are. And that's basically what they give, That guy couldn't answer a single fucking thing. He was repeatedly caught out on lies and misinformation, and he had no alternate explanation for anything that he presented. He was also walking back earlier claims. He was saying here, like, I just want there to be an investigation, but no. I don't like thinking he did the echo himself, but the idea that you were faking it exemplified as conspiratorial thinking. So this is what I mean about broken brains, okay? When I said that there was an echo on my end, he said I was faking it. I'm live streaming. There's a huge audience of people watching me. How could I possibly get away with... Your fans are watching it too. How could I get away with faking it? But that's like tendency towards conspiracy. He doesn't actually believe anything. He'll just throw out any counter-argument that he can think of to buy time. Conspiracy theorists often don't actually believe in all the arguments they make. Vaush, you made some good points, but the schizophrenia thing was kind of a low blow. Yeah, I guess. I'm sorry. I get a little ableist when I'm talking to people like that, but this is something that I've always struggled with. I'm not the best at understanding other people's mindsets. I don't know if it's like an autism thing or whatever, but when people are that far gone, I genuinely don't know what to do other than like completely mentally write them off, like as a crazy person. It's all I can really think of. Like with people like that, like I don't. But does anyone have an alternate explanation? I could never imagine being like that. I don't know. I place a lot of value on like the belief that I'm not some kind of crazy ideologue. Like I know that I have my biases. I'm not pretending that I don't, but I don't think that I'm so unbelievably lost that I could never even that I could like he couldn't even have a conversation with me. Yeah, but it is deliberate. That's very important to remember. Nobody acts like that like accidentally, you know? This is a very deliberate effort to be that dishonest. It's pretty cringe. Also, did I come off that angry? I feel like I mostly came off exasperated, but there's only so much I can do, man. There are limits. Comments on the Twitter poster saying you ran away and rage quitted the debate. Lol. Yeah, that's what they always do, dude. They get into a debate, they realize they're losing, so they freak out super fucking hard. They stop engaging in the conversation, and at that point, they basically just want to use my larger platform for as a you know, like a speaking post, so they can ramble for as long as they want without any kind of pushback. I'll ask a question or make a counter argument, and they won't say anything in response because they don't have to. He just starts rambling. He wasn't even like responding to any of the claims that I made, you know? Yeah, Mike from PA said the same thing. Nazi said the same. It's always the same with these people. Always, always, always. If he checked out of the conversation, he's the one who actually rage quit.